It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of Once on This Island, It's a Wonderful Life, the live radio play, and SpongeBob SquarePants, a Broadway musical. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Two on the Aisle. And good evening, I am Charles Gross.
And I'm Leslie Hoban Blake.
Yes. All right. Once on this island.
We did that twice.
Yes. So, but it's only once on this island. This is the musical Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty, who did the amazing Ragtime. This was actually one of their earlier works, which I believe I saw off Broadway when it first opened.
Here's a photo of the earlier time at Playwrights Horizon, which is where the play it began.
Right.
They actually put it in the program. And, of course, that's LaChance, who became a star because of that role.
Right. Well, certainly you have Haley Kilgore, who is introduced in this play as the lead role. This is boy and girl, different sides of the fence. They meet. He's very sick. She heals him by, among other things, sleeping with him. But he's been betrothed, so they must be apart.
Well, he's not sick. He gets in a car crash.
Yeah.
And she okay. I mean,
Well,
it's not like he falls ill, but it is a fairy tale.
If you listen very hard, you'll hear her call out.
To come share with her our laughter and our tears. And as mysteries and miracles befall us through the years, we tell the story.
Life is wild.
Tell the story.
Hope is wild.
Tell the story.
Faith is
Tell
wild.
the story. You are
But this little girl, it'll take you far.
won't you spend little friend? I'll be by your side. That's what some mamas want. To give her child the all and whatever you need, mama will. Mama will. Mama will.
There's no question. And one of the most important things is not just that it's the other side of the fence, but these are all black people on an island.
Yes.
Or then they're not African American. They're all black people on an island.
Okay.
And they're light skinned and dark skinned.
Right.
And the aristocrats are light skinned, and the darker skinned people are the poor people. And she's from the lower class. She's found. There are four. There's a Mother Earth and Father.
Well, these
Water
are
and-
like gods.
of earth and water
Right.
and wind and fire.
Right.
Yes.
And one of them is Leia Salonga.
One is Leia Salonga. She's the Earth Mother.
Right.
And this wonderful guy from, what is his name? He was on Glee, remember? Alex Newell plays, he's kind of gender fluid, and he plays Mama something or other. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but he's wonderful. He has this fantastic voice. He played a girl on Glee, and then he became,
Right.
then
I
we knew
think
that he
I
wasn't.
think he was
Tra-
would
trans-
be he was transgender. I think Dominique was his female persona or something to that effect. Right.
Anyway, so
And you have the
he's-
adorable Mia Williamson as both the young Haley Kilgore's younger self and the little girl who the story is being told to.
Right, and Philip Boykin plays the father. Now, Philip Boykin, of course, was on. He was Crown in Porgy and Bess, among other things, and he was also in On the Town. He sang that opening song. He was brilliant, and he's a Tony winner. So
Right.
you know you've got
So
Leia
you've got some
Salonga.
first-class talent, and you have a very nice stage. And this is done at Circle in the Square, and it's done in the round, and they've got sand all
They
over the
brought
stage.
Coney Island sand. I think.
Oh, it's
there's
actual
no
Coney
sand.
Island?
I don't know. I don't think there's any sand left in Coney Island. They covered the floor with sand. They
stage
put
floor.
stuff into the audience. They come up and down the aisles in the audience.
Right.
They sit
But
on
you
the
don't get
side
any.
of
You don't get any sand on you. Don't worry.
No, you don't. But there's a goat wearing a diaper, but there's a goat, and they dance and they sing and they carry on in the aisles and up and down, and it's all to make you realize that the story is very, very frail and very small. And you know what? You don't mind.
I did.
Well, you did. I didn't. I didn't because Michael Arden, the director, got the idea that you take a fairy tale and you make a fairy tale out of it. You know, you don't try to make it real, and yet they look real. These people look like they could be real people.
Yes. Well, it's borderline. It's not like they did Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella a few years ago.
Yes, but that
which
was,
I thought was, but it looked like a fairy tale.
exactly like what we think of it as
And
a fairy tale.
frankly
This is
had a
folk
better
tale.
story and score to beat.
I should correct myself, though. It's a folk tale rather than a fairy tale, and this really is their folk. I think that's what I really wanted to say.
Okay,
when I said
I have to say my impression when I saw it originally, like 20, 30 years ago, was, you know,
Little Tale.
little tale, you know, nothing very special. I enjoyed the singing, I enjoyed the dancing, I like the staging very much, but until the very end, where, you know, we find out that they can't be together, I really wasn't drawn into the play. I really wasn't overly entertained by it. I could just take it or leave it, which is pretty much how I felt about it originally. Although I do feel that the staging here is much better, and there's a certain joyfulness. I have to say I was a minority because the audience, I have seldom seen an audience so into a play as they were the night I attended.
It really, it does this. It draws you in. It really
Well, it
has
didn't
the
draw
power
me
to-
in, but it drew them in, and they were shouting and they were cheering.
yes.
And after the play, they crowded around the stage door as, you know,
This
if
is mixed
some big
audience.
movie,
This is all kinds of people. and
as
children
if some
and-
big movie store was actually in
and
the
there's
play.
nobody that
No,
unless they're all friends of whoever it was.
could
What would
be.
you give this?
a generous 3.
Oh, I would give it a very generous 4.5. I really had a
No.
good time.
Nowhere
and,
near. Nowhere
and
near.
I don't really know the songs. I went away and I thought I don't remember any of the songs. But
Exactly.
but I had the experience, and I went on the journey with them. And I think that's it. And they said that we're taking you on a journey. There's the story.
Well, it
you
is the entire journey that draws you in more than any specific part of it.
Yeah.
And if you were drawn in, and again, I think most of the people in the audience were. That's great. I was not.
Okay. So we have something different this time. We are talking about, and this is very special, it's only for this time of the year, this time being the latter end of the year. This is It's a Wonderful Life, the radio play. And this is not just being done here, I discovered. This is at the Irish Rep, but it's also, my son lives in Connecticut, and it's also being done at the Iverton Playhouse. I'll give them a plug. We don't get to see theirs, but I'm assuming it's pretty much the same. And what it is they dress people up in 1940s style from when there were radio plays, and you have somebody doing sound effects, including a bowl of cereal with shoes walking through it to make crunch, crunch sounds. And
For those of you of a certain age, this is done in a radio studio because
let me explain what radio is.
because back then, well, it's television without the pictures
That's
essentially,
right.
and back then
Which
in the
sounds
40s
so
when
dumb
this
you
takes
think
place,
about it.
you know, they had it set up. They had a live audience. And let me tell you something, go on the internet, look up Jack Benny or the Green Hornet. You had some pretty impressive
My son owns a
shows.
shelf like this of old radio plays on
Right.
CD, and he loves them. You just listen to them. It's like listening to podcasts, basically,
Yes,
only their stories.
exactly.
Or listening to books on
Exactly.
tape, you know. But it's a Wonderful Life, the Jimmy Stewart movie, and they have a cast of 2, 4, 6 people playing all the characters.
Right.
And the characters you remember are George, the young man who has a problem. He's deciding to end his life because he feels he's failed his family. He feels he's failed everybody.
And
yet-
he had to give up all his dreams.
Yes,
And,
and-
he gave up all his dreams. He sacrificed his whole life for his brother, for his uncle, for the
For
town.
everybody.
And he looks around, and then one night he realizes he's got nothing to show for
Right.
it.
So he's
or
going
so
to
he
jump
thinks.
off the bridge, and it's Christmas time, and there's an angel who has been an old angel. He's not a young angel. He's never gotten his wings, and the Starkeeper or whoever's in charge decides to send him down and give him one last chance to get his wings to save George, and he does it in sort of reverse Christmas Carol style by being just one spirit taking George through his life, showing him what he did and how he affected everybody in the town. Right. And each time George feels a little bit better, and each time the angel stands up a little taller. And this angel is played by the same guy who plays a bunch of other characters.
Yes.
But they all did a lovely job. And on radio, that's what they would do. You would have one person playing 5 or 6 voices, and they could do
And
it.
you would have something, and remember, they didn't have like a computer box where you could just
Right,
press a
nothing.
button and get sounds. So they
The
had
guy
to,
in the booth.
they had a guy in the booth with all sorts of different props, and It's
Like
just
I said, the shoes
it's a
and the
lot
ball
it's a
are
lot of fun because
serious.
I always would have I would have loved to
I
have
know, me
sat
too,
in one of those
me
radio
too.
shows, and they have a
I
sign
would
that
love
says
to have been
applaud.
on a radio show. That's
Oh,
what
yes,
I would
absolutely,
want to do, you know?
absolutely.
And you had a microphone. You had to talk into the microphone, and you played the little old lady, and then you played somebody
Yes,
else. You know.
Exactly.
Anyway,
or you could
so
play you could play the 12-year-old.
obviously, we both enjoyed this very
did.
much. They did a great job. Charlotte
did.
Moore is directing upstairs and downstairs at the IRT
busy lady.
right now. And she did a lovely job. This is a tradition there now. I don't know if the same actor, I'm assuming different actors come every year to do it, but it's a Christmas tradition in the same way that something like Christmas Story, you mentioned to me that it's going to be on live. Do we want to leave that to the
No,
end?
because that will by the time this airs.
Oh, you're doing that. Okay, never mind. So cut that out. I'm sorry. Anyway, so it's a Christmas tradition. The way they bring back Elf is at Madison Square Garden this year for for Christmas. So anyway, lovely idea. If you get a chance next year to do it a bit in the month of November into December, it's a wonderful way to spend
I
an
think
evening.
it basically what it comes down to: do you enjoy the movie? If you like the movie, you're going to love this.
No, I disagree to the extent that it's for some younger people who don't know what it was like. It's a recreation of what radio was, and they play that straight. They're on there with their scripts. They don't mess
Right.
around, and so you can actually get that whole thing. So you're getting two things for the price of one. You're getting the story, and you're also getting the recreation of a radio show.
That's true, but I think that novelty wears. I mean, so I think once it begins, after a few 10 minutes in, you're really at least I was paying more attention to the play than the radio.
Well, I was looking at them changing voices and who played what, and they did put on a prop here and
Yes.
there if they were going to be playing a character
They
so that
did.
we could follow. If they're on the radio, you wouldn't need a prop.
Well,
Obviously.
they would do that for the benefit of the studio audience,
Right. Well,
perhaps.
that's true. That's true. And the studio audience would applaud, but only and there were commercials and all that stuff.
Here's an interesting
We
trivia.
didn't- okay, go ahead.
Trivia. Talking about radio, you know who one of the most popular people on radio were?
The fat guy who played. He was on the radio, and then he said something terrible, and they threw him off.
Okay, well
You know who I'm talking about?
I do.
But I can't think of his name.
Children's talk show host and
No.
Oh.
He was a guy who had a bunch of shows, and he was always the announcer on the show, and he had guest stars.
I
can't think of his name.
don't know who-
Godfrey,
I don't
Arthur
know.
Godfrey.
Arthur Godfrey.
Arthur Godfrey.
They threw him
that-
off?
They did throw him off at the end. He did something stupid, and he got thrown off.
That would have been on television because he was on
I
television
guess
too.
so. I guess.
Now I
so.
was thinking of Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy
Right, how
Edgar
funny
Bergen
that
was a
was.
ventriloquist,
on the radio.
which just goes to show the importance of creating a character.
Well, it also shows the innocence of the time. We didn't know any better, I mean, we being, I wasn't there, but I mean, we being, the audiences didn't have anything when they started. You had 5 cavemen sitting around a fire going, oh, and telling stories, and it wound up being radio, and then it wound up being television. I mean, it's amazing what we've lived through. Now it's all on this little tiny thing that gives us everything.
Right. Well, when we were growing up, they had radios this big.
Speaking of giving, what would we
Yes.
give this?
I would say 3.5.
Oh, I give them 4. It was a lovely effort. I had a lovely time. Lovely is an
I think,
operative word.
I have mixed feelings about It's a Wonderful Life. I like the movie. I cry every time he, sees his wife and she doesn't recognize him.
Right, and the angel gets
But
his wings.
then you think he really did make a lot. I was reading an article about it in the papers. It says, you know what? This poor guy, he didn't look what happens if you don't go chase your dreams. You end up in Bedford Falls.
But you see, that's the cynical view. That's not the way the story's supposed to go.
That's true.
Speaking
That's
of
true.
cynical,
Cynical, all right. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob.
Not me.
I had to live with that because I had 2 daughters who grew up with this. And
fortunately, my son's a bit older than that. So
yes,
we
and
missed
I
that.
will tell you, there are a lot of cartoons that I loved on Nickelodeon. SpongeBob SquarePants, I could always take or leave. And now he's on Broadway, so I did the sensible thing. I took my daughter with me, who grew up with him, and this is basically, if you grew up with SpongeBob and you like SpongeBob, you're probably going to enjoy this. And if not, why are you even bothering to watch this review?
Which is why I took a 10-year-old daughter of a friend of mine, the same
Or
little girl
did,
I took
did she
to-
know SpongeBob?
Oh, yeah, of course she knows SpongeBob. If she's 10 years old, of course she knows
Okay.
SpongeBob is on all the time. It's on Nickelodeon. If you go past on your guide, you pass it says SpongeBob. It even says SpongeBob the movie, which gets that much space.
Yes.
And I tried. I actually watched 15 minutes of one episode before going to this. I watched the one that was called The Tidal Zone, which was a takeoff on The Twilight Zone. And that was all I could take. I think there was a second episode right after it was 2:15. I couldn't bear it.
Yeah.
So not for me, not my kind of show. But surprisingly, I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed this for a lot of reasons. Number one, Tina Landau, the director, who's been around as long as I have, give or take. I'm not saying we're the same age, but I knew her back in the day. So Tina Landau, whose only other musical that I know of, and I'm probably going to be wrong, I should look this up first, who did Bells Are Ringing on Broadway, totally different, normal Broadway type of show. I'm not even going to bother looking.
Well, you know, this is basically, it's this large, beautiful set with these Rube Goldberg contraptions. Let me give you the plot here. Bikini Bottom is about to be destroyed
on every
by
episode, I think,
by
right?
a volcano.
No, but it's going to be destroyed by something. It's going to be bought or sold.
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
By a
And
volcano.
all the characters you love are here. SpongeBob, who has got to be the biggest optimist on Broadway since Annie.
Or Under the Sea, played by a lovely young guy named Ethan Slater.
I think he even
Never
has
heard
red
of him
hair.
before. Has red hair.
Yeah.
Is about that big from the looks of it.
which is good.
And does it, what I caught in 15 minutes, does everything except play his nose.
He does that too.
He does it.
He
but
tries it at the end.
But what I'm saying is
he mimes it.
He really comes across as the embodiment of a cartoon character.
Yes,
and yet you feel for him, and yet he does a good job.
Sometimes he will let the voice go a little, but also, and then there's.
So come on, hero is our middle name. Fixing trouble is our game. Courage is your claim to fame. When hero is your middle name, give me adventure, I'm a contender and more. I will show I'm not just the sponge next door. I'm gonna find a better way, a way to save the life I love. I am not a simple sponge. I'm not a loser. They don't not like me at all. I don't not leave the house, 'cause I don't not prefer to stay at home. It's a typical, incredible, regular, exceptional, extraordinary Bikini Bottom day.
With
Gavin Lee as Squidward.
that was
Squidward, excuse me.
Gavin Lee
He's got.
just
Yeah.
But didn't we just see him on Broadway and in?
Yes, in SpongeBob.
Yes, thank you. No, not in SpongeBob. He was just in. He was either in She Loves Me or he was in. Bette Midler. What was he? Was he not
Hello,
in that?
Dolly.
Was he not in Hello, Dolly?
I don't know offhand.
Well, it would say that here
You can
too.
look that up.
Here I
He's
go
got,
again.
He's got one of
Okay.
the highlights of the show. Aside from the Rube Goldberg devices that show the volcano, he has this dance number, and he's got 4 legs because he's Squidward, and it is wonderful. And then, of course, you have.
It was Holiday Inn.
Oh yes, you have Patchy the Pirate, who doesn't have it, who's let out of his picture, and well, I won't give it away. And Mr.
People
Krabs, and
even know he's in a
basically
picture,
all
know.
what.
People don't even know he's in a picture unless they watch
Again, if you haven't watched SpongeBob, why are you
It's not
here?
going to mean anything, right?
You know, and it's basically exactly what you expect. Very silly, sophomoric, quite frankly. I took my daughter Miriam to it, and she again grew up with SpongeBob. She did not like it. She was not at all impressed. I was lukewarm to it. I
My
found
10-year-old friend loved it.
Okay.
Liked it better than she made a point of telling me she liked it better than Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I thought, so did I. And the reason that I liked it better was it was everywhere. It was everything and everywhere. I think that Tina Landau, I'll go back to the director, took everything she ever learned in all these years of theater and put them up on this stage. Just the way that Lion King did. I know this is not Lion King. I'm not trying to make out that it's Lion King.
Close.
But Lion King did the same kind of thing. It brought you into that world.
Right.
And this is the dumbest world you've ever seen.
Yes, they use a lot, but they use it creatively. The problem here, at least for me, lack of story, lack of score, and they've got more composers and lyricists here than they have
because
actors.
what they did was they
David
took
Bowie,
music.
Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, they took songs, but they took unknown songs from these people. They're not well-known songs.
and they
not to
fit
me
well. They're
anyway.
not well known, and they don't deserve to be well known. They actually sound very uniform. So kudos to the orchestrator. But the music was all right. The lyrics, when you could hear them, were not very imaginative. I mean, Cyndi Lauper did so much better with Kinky Boots.
Well, that was her show. I mean, she
Right.
wrote the
Well,
music
she
for
wrote
that
one
show.
of the songs
they borrowed
in here,
this
yeah.
and played with this stuff.
But I think some of it is actually no. These are original songs.
No, I know that,
So-
but I don't know that they're original lyrics. They may have adjusted the lyrics. Tom Kitt worked on the show, so he had permission, perhaps, from these people to change lyrics here and there. I don't know what I don't know
Well,
the original
they didn't.
music,
They
so I
didn't.
don't
They didn't
know.
do a very good job. And to me, that weighs the show down. I mean, some of the things are obvious. How they like SpongeBob and Sandy the squirrel, Sandy Cheeks. Yes, that's her name. She's a squirrel genius from the south, and they're going to put one of her devices in to stop the volcano, and they're climbing it, and you're thinking, and you've seen some of Sandy's other contraptions, and you're wondering, why does it take Patrick, of all people, to figure out how
But
they should have done it in the first place?
I thought how clever that contraption was. It was ladders. It was ladders put together in a crazy way, and he had to go climbing in and out of them. It had to be somebody small enough
Well,
to
this
fit
is
through
the
them.
set again.
Yes, the set. I get what I'm saying.
Right.
This is what to me was. I don't know. I don't think I gave the set credit. I gave the director credit. The set and the costumes
David
were
Zinn.
both by David Zinn.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
all of a piece. And the two contraptions that Charlie is talking about were on either side of the stage. So one had a bicycle, and the bicycle would go around, and then it would
Right.
push something down. And when the volcano came
So it-
out,
and,
we
and,
shouldn't
and you know
spoil
what?
all of
As
the
I think
effects.
about it, it has a lot in common with Once on This Island.
Well,
You go out humming the scenery.
that's true. That's very true.
In
and
both
and
cases.
the actors in this case. I
Yes.
think that they did a wonderful job. I really
I
think they did.
agree, but I still felt again, and I know this is a cartoon, and I know this is SpongeBob, and SpongeBob is supposed to be silly and stupid and sophomoric.
Well, it was.
Yes, it was.
And the thing is, I
but
gave myself up to it. You know, I didn't give myself up to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I wanted to, and it didn't say, come into our world. This says, forget about it for an hour and a half, 2 hours and a half, actually. Come into our world, and I decided, okay, I'm going into your world.
well, I tried.
Okay.
And you know, it's like I'm half SpongeBob, half Squidward on this show.
I had
Miriam
no expectations. And I
was not
really
at all
pleased.
impressed. She's 20 now.
I know.
But again, she knows probably of the three of us knows SpongeBob a lot better. But if you're a SpongeBob fan, yes. If you're not,
But I'm not, and I
Okay,
liked
and
it.
you still
So
did
what are
all
you
right.
going to give it?
I'm going to give it 3.
I would give it 4.5 for the effort, for the costumes, for everything, for making me feel that this was a place. I mean, I wouldn't go watch the cartoons again. I really
Okay.
wouldn't. I have nothing.
don't blame you.
But I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed it. They brought me into the story. I went, okay, dumb, stupid, silly, and I did feel a connection to the failed, for me, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I think it's going to run. I mean,
Oh, I'm sure this is
I
going to
think
run.
this is going to run. Charlie,
But I've seen a lot of shows I haven't liked run, so
well, okay.
that doesn't say
So,
much. So
do I
we
have 2
have yes,
seconds to-
you have a lot more than that.
Okay.
So go for it.
Again, holiday time, but we're in that holiday mode. There was a special little show called Who's Holiday down at the West Side Theater. And this stars Leslie Margarita, whom I discovered for the first time in Dames at Sea. It wasn't, but she was fantastic in that show. It didn't work very well. It's a one-woman show directed by Carl Andrus, who has directed a lot of Charles Bush's things. And I just have to say, I'm looking to see if there's a picture of her to show you. No, there's not. Okay. The Who's Holiday is about Cindy Lou Who, if you remember your Dr. Seuss.
She was the little girl in How the Grinch Stole Christmas,
Yes, and now she's a
who
grown-up.
runs into the Grinch.
And now she's a grown-up. And she tells the story in Susian rhyme, in the little doggerel things. that he
Susian
did.
rhyme.
Susian rhyme, thank
Okay,
you.
yes.
Susian rhyme. Anyway, you say Susian. Anyway. So she tells the story of her being abducted by the Grinch and what life was like with the Grinch and how she changed the Grinch's mind about certain things. But it's low down and dirty. This is a naughty, naughty show. This is a lump of coal in your sock kind of show. And it's got 4-letter words and lots of innuendo and lots of stuff that's more than innuendo. And Cindy Lou
I'm
Who-
getting you. I'm gathering you didn't bring the 10-year-old to this.
No, I didn't bring the 10-year-old to this. They said don't bring. They said don't bring anyone under 15. They have a limit. And you'll see in the little piece that we have to show you, costume-wise and every other way, why it looks like this. She lives in a trailer and she is trailer trash. And there was a lawsuit brought by the people who the Seuss estate. The Seuss estate. And the writer, Matthew Lombardo, who's a well-known playwright, Matthew Lombardo had to fight to get his play put on, and they again, this is a satire. This is not. We're not debunking Dr.
Well, is
Seuss.
it a satire? Do you
Of
think?
course, it's a satire.
You remember me, right? Oh, I'm sure that you do. When I was a youngster, I was Cindy Lou Who.
Hello, Christmas, Christmas Day.
How was I to know he was evil or crass? He gave me some water, then patted my ass.
Hello, Christmas.
The night of my birthday, he took me alone to the dock, where he gave me my present. His big, thick, long, excuse me. I'm sorry, is that word offensive? It gets worse.
I don't know. I didn't see it.
It's a satire. They have a few Trump jokes in it. They make it, but it's a satire about the idea of what happens to these characters when they grow up. You know, we know Horton the Who. From what happened to Horton afterwards? Was there an elephant graveyard for Horton? I mean, do you want to know that?
He doesn't die.
But you
in
no,
the
but you don't.
stories.
But the point is, of course not. But what happens after the stories? It's like Into the Woods. You know, this is the after story for Cindy Lou Who. It was adorable. It was.
These characters do not do well in after stories.
No, they don't. And I think that's the standard feeling, is that they don't. Even the ones who get their princes don't. You know.
Right.
Darling show. Give it a Leslie Margarita. I would give a 5. She's got to be. This is a show written for her, but somebody's got to find a Broadway show written for her, because this is a little off-Broadway show. She can do a lot. And
Well, she was wonderful in Dames at Sea.
She was.
And I actually liked Dames at Sea very much. It just, I think, may have been too small for Broadway. That was the problem.
Well, I think so too. And I think it well, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. But anyway, so lovely show. I mean, not lovely show. It's a nasty show, but I had a lovely time. I really enjoyed myself. I'm being very positive tonight. I liked a lot
I
of
know.
stuff.
There's nothing you
Thank
didn't
you
like.
for giving me the time to give them a plug.
No,
A new
my pleasure.
A new comedy in couplets, yes. Susie couplets.
All right. Well, I guess that's our show for
I think
tonight.
that's our show for tonight.
All right. And when you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us too.
On the aisle.
I'm not a loser. They don't not like me at all. I don't not leave the house, 'cause I don't not prefer to stay at home.
Bikini Bottom, our own hometown. Bikini Bottom, and the sun shines down. The sun shines down. Yeah, the sun shines down. The sun shines down. It's a typical, incredible